All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to this week's Tech Talk with the Tech Academy. This week we are having a job placement Q&A with Forrest and myself. Forrest, wave to everybody.
Hi,
This is
everybody.
us. You probably have seen our faces or heard our voices before. And we're here to answer all your job placement questions, debug where you might be getting tripped up in your job search or if you're not there yet, any apprehensions or questions that you might have about when you get there. It's never too soon to start that process. And we're here to answer your questions. So let us know if you have specific questions or if there's just specific areas that you would like advice in, and we'll be happy to answer them.
Yeah, thank you for the intro, Kenzie. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Love doing these Q&As with folks, kind of get a head start on some people that are maybe new to the academy and want to get some advice. Maybe some folks that have been on the job search for a while and looking for a little bit of assistance. Yeah, basically this is open for anybody to ask whatever kind of question. There's no question too small or too big. I have some samples I can kind of throw out there to start the discussion off, but I'd really like to open it up to anybody who has wants to give us the start. If you want to, there's a little button to raise your hand at the bottom of the screen. You can start off there. Looks like Joseph kind of broke the ice there. Joseph, you want to take it away?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, thanks for doing this, guys. I was just gonna ask. So, like, I see a lot of really low-paying junior dev positions, and I'm not quite there where I'm looking for a junior dev position. But I was just kind of asking, is that a valid foot in the door position, or is that just kind of like one of those sketchy ones? Like, I'm just trying to weigh if that's like worth my time. And from your experience, what would you say?
Yeah, describe low pay for me.
Well, I'm talking about like, like a target employee or something like 15 an hour.
Okay, yeah. I don't typically see that low of wages. So the lowest I typically see, and this is, you know, on the lower end, is around $20 to $25 an hour, and um, that's like on the very low end. 15, obviously, I'm sure that's out there. It's pretty rare that I come across something like that. Um, it might be, I don't know. It's a weird situation where I maybe like 1 in 1,000 leads I come across has a wage that low. So that's
Really?
not a
Oh,
yeah, that's not a normal um, entry level wage by any means. But here's what I think about that. If this position, so say you come across a $15 an hour position and you've got like a stellar chance of getting it, and you interview for it and they love you and they want to bring you on, take it, because you can continue your job search while you're in this job. And the toughest part of your job search is this first job, is getting your foot in the door. I often recommend people do, internships, paid or otherwise, volunteer work, freelance work for, maybe not a huge salary. Not because I want people to work for free, but because getting experience on your resume is what's going to fuel you forward in your job search. So if you can work, 6 months at a job that doesn't, maybe pays kind of less, but you get some awesome experience on your resume, then you leave that with so much more fuel to push you forward in your job search. Say you don't take that and then you spend the next 3-6 months on your job search not getting anything else. You could have at least been building your resume during that time and be better off in that 6 month term. You know what I mean?
oh yeah, no, that's a great answer. Hey, thanks so much.
Yeah, totally. And like I said, that's a pretty rarity. Typically what we see on a salary range is going to sit between, 40 on the low end, and I've seen upwards of 80 on the upper end, but typically it's between 40 and 60 starting off, and that's starting off. I'm seeing 20 to 30 thousand dollar increases within a year. I've seen developers from the Tech Academy become senior developers within a year and a half of graduating, and they're making six figures because they really push themselves. And once they get that first year of experience, it's basically, I wouldn't say smooth sailing, but as long as you continue to grow, push yourself, you're going to grow relatively rapidly. Yeah.
Oh yeah, hey, thanks so much.
Awesome. So who else has a question or a worry or a concern, compliment, anything? I got Ash. What are your typical interview questions? Great question, Ash. So typically you're looking at 2 to 3 interview sessions for a job. Your first one is relatively easy. That's going to be like your phone screen. It's not always this way. This is just kind of the more normal. You'll have a phone screen where maybe a recruiter calls you for a position. And recruiter, this could be a third-party recruiter, or they could work directly for the company that's hiring. They've got a job posting in their hand, and they've got your resume, and they see a little bit of a match. So they give you a call, and they say, "Hey, we want to just get to know you a little bit. Tell me a little bit about yourself, your education history, and your tech history." And it's real brief, nothing too like technical. They're not going to ask you like specific tech questions, but they want to see if you're a good fit. If that passes, if that goes well, you move on to the next round, where more often than not, you're seeing more of a soft skills interview session, where they want to know about you as a person, about your work history, how you handle stress, how you handle disagreements at work, your time management skills, just general sort of professional soft skills without getting too technical. And then, I can go into more detail about the exact questions, but you're always going to see questions like, tell me about yourself. And they want to know who you are, what do you think about yourself, what's your confidence level in you, your education history, your work history. Technical stuff varies based on company. A lot of times they're going to have their stack that they deal in, the software that they use. Maybe it's a .NET company, and they use, Angular and C# and .NET and whatever, some other technology, and they want to know what you understand about those technologies. They're going to tell me about a project you've done in C#. Okay, well then go into intricacies about the project. What's your experience with Entity Framework? Questions like that. And the nice thing about that is you can be prepared for these kind of questions, because the job posting, you see the questions, you see the skills stack that the job requires 99% of the time. Sometimes you don't, but you can, get with us and do mock interviews. You can research the heck out of it, figure out what they're going to ask you, and be a little bit more prepared that way. Every once in a while, you'll see a tech coding interview. Sometimes they're live, sometimes they're take home, sometimes they're whiteboarding. They vary pretty wildly. They can be pretty intimidating, but they're not as scary as they might seem. What they really are trying to get out of you is to see your thought process. Not necessarily can you solve this problem, this complex problem, in 2 hours flat, but can you logically think like a programmer to work your way through this problem? Can you at least write proper documentation of how you would go about solving this if you couldn't solve it directly? So while the coding challenges are like a scary sort of thing to think about, they're not as bad as you might think, and they're also really good practice. Even if you bomb them, it's great practice, and it tells you what you should be learning for the next time. So yeah, good question. I can get more specific about exact questions, but that's kind of the general flow of it. Douglas, you had a question? Douglas? Oh, not sure if you're muted or not. Maybe you're frozen. All right, we can come back, Doug.
I think it's a situation.
Yeah, looks like it. No worries. Cool. Jamie's got a question here. Let me pop up my here.
Internet's a little sketchy. Yes, can you hear me?
Great. Let's go for it, Doug.
Okay. Forrest, I hope you can hear me. My internet's a little sketchy. My question is to follow up on what you just said about the tech take-home challenges, or if you're whiteboarding or whatever. How could a junior developer who just finished the program answer the question that's being asked of them in the interview, but also let the interviewer know that you understand that the software, it needs to be scalable? It's not just, I'm answering this one specific problem that you threw at me, but I do understand as a company, you guys might have millions or billions of users around the world. So how can you get that point across while you're trying to also, show some proficiency?
That's a good question. Yeah. That would give you bonus points in an interview. It's one thing to solve it. It's another thing to solve it for scalability. If you can consider, and I'm not going to get too into this, but the big O notation, like the runtime complexity of this algorithm that you're building for them, and how it scales upwards. that's just bonus points for you, basically. They're not necessarily worried about, not always, sometimes, sometimes that's the question is, build a scalable program for us. Not always, I don't typically see that. But if you can take a problem that's not that, they're just, hey, build this simple JavaScript functionality for us. If you can then go into specifics of the scalability and build it so it's scalable, that's going to make you stand out, tenfold from the other candidates, basically. From my experience,
Right.
I don't often see that as a question, but it's good to be prepared for, and it'll help you out a lot.
Okay. To follow up, I guess a better question might have been, would you recommend we take that approach or just answer what they're asking and don't bomb the interview trying to take that more ambitious route?
Yeah, great question. Sometimes I see people going into interviews like that with higher expectations on themselves than they can actually afford, and going way too big for something that doesn't need to be as big. And in the end, it ends up kind of messing them up because they can't finish, and then they don't have a finished product at the end. If you can first achieve the result in the simplest sort of terms, and then take any extra time on top of that to build upon it, so that you at least have your core product there. You at least have it built out. You have maybe your proper comments on your code to show that you understand what you're doing. And then from there, take it a step further and, okay, here's what I started. I built what you wanted, but then I started going in this other direction where I'm focusing on a more scalable version of that. That's going to look amazing on you. Just focus on the minimal first, then take it from there. Because sometimes you have a couple hours, sometimes you have days. I've seen weeks even for coding challenges. So you have to kind of assess it based on the time you're given. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Jamie asked, how do you follow up with an application you sent through a job posting portal? Great question, Jamie. Sorry, Kenzie, I feel like I've been taking the full spotlight. If you want to dive in, I don't want to. If you're comfortable there.
I think you're doing such a great job. I mean, with this one, I would, and just so y'all know, I should have said this in the introduction, but Forrest is one of our job placement directors. So he works directly with our students who are in the job placement program on their job search. So he has a lot more experience kind of walking people through that and what their experience is. But when it comes to portals, a good thing to do for any job really is to try and research that company and see if you can't figure out who is at least like the hiring manager or someone that's in charge of personnel. And if you can't directly reach out to the person handling your application, you still might be able to reach out to someone in that department and follow up with them. Some job listings will mention the person in the email, even if it's through a portal. I know that the Multnomah County jobs that I was applying to would mention the name of the person who would be handling the job applications. And so I would go then and try and find their info by just searching them online, or maybe searching Multnomah County or Oregon government jobs. And sometimes I wasn't even positive if I was sending it to the right person, but it's still worth a try. It still shows that you made effort. And if it's a random person, then they'll just delete your email and move on.
Yeah, I think that's good.
I'm sure Forrest can add something more useful to that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good advice, though. I mean, I was just talking to Drew about this in the beginning here, talk about what's typical, and typical is such a term that I don't even use anymore because everything looks different depending on where you are. No, not everybody does it the same way. Not everybody includes their contact information. And if you're doing it through a job portal like LinkedIn or something with a quick apply, there's almost never going to be a follow-up method that's really obvious. You have to put in that extra effort. You have to, okay, find the company. Okay, I'm going to search them on LinkedIn. I'm going to find out who works there. The great thing about LinkedIn is you search a company. If they have an account, they show the people that work there, and you can find those people and you can reach out to them via LinkedIn. Sometimes they have their emails on there. You can find their job title. Okay, this person's a developer. This person's HR. This person's the janitor. I mean, you can reach out to everybody. We had a meetup, several months ago where I had a guy here who was kind of an expert in networking. He had like 25,000 LinkedIn connections and he was getting job offers every single day, basically. And his advice was reach out to everybody from the janitor to the CEO, and which might be kind of hard to do, but if you can connect with as many people at a company as possible, then when they see your resume and they go to your LinkedIn, which inevitably they will go to your LinkedIn if somebody gets your resume, they're gonna click on your LinkedIn account because it's on your resume. And they're gonna see, oh, so and so is contacted with 3 of our people here. Maybe they're in the lower end or maybe they're in the higher end. Doesn't really matter. That in itself is a follow-up. Even if you're not following up directly with the job, you're creating an extra sort of connection between you and that company that could eventually help you get a callback. So in simplest terms, I mean, whatever you can possibly do to get your name in front of somebody at that company is a successful follow-up. I like phone calls more than anything else. I think phone calls are more successful than other actions. If you can go to the company's website, if it's a small enough company, and just give them a call. Hey, this is Jamie. Super excited about your company. I saw this job posting I just applied for. I wanted to just verify that my resume made it to someone's desk. I know these things can get lost sometimes. Very often they're going to say, well, we never got your resume. Here's an email address for you to send it to. And then boom, you got a direct contact with the company right there. So
can I ask you a specific question from something relating to my search? So I actually did get, I got an email back and they were like, okay, we like your resume. We want you to take this assessment. I took the assessment and then I haven't heard back since then. Mm-hmm. So I'm just like wondering what I should do in between that time. Like, like there obviously was communication and it actually wasn't even a coding assessment. I don't know if you guys heard of, I think it's called BRYQ, BRYQ.
No, I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah, it was more of like a psychology logical test. And it was kind of hard. And my results, they're not like straightforward, like, everyone's results are different. And it seemed like I performed well, but they're really, it's up to them to perceive how those results. But I'm not really sure what to do because I would like that job.
Yeah. Well, then you got to show them that you really want the job. You got to reach out to them again. So you've had this little bit of communication. That's great. Don't let that, sizzle out. Obviously, don't drive them crazy with communication to the point where they don't want to, hire you because you're driving them nuts. But, if it's been a couple days, whoever you talk to, try reaching out to them again. Hey, thanks for the opportunity with that assessment. That was great. I just wanted to follow up to see, make sure that got in front of somebody, just to verify that, you got what I sent back in. Sometimes they didn't get it. So there's some sort of, technology has a million issues, as we all know. So sometimes these things just don't work out. But if you follow up with them, if you keep a professional sort of rapport with them where you're following up on a regular basis, that helps to remind them constantly, oh yeah, Jamie's in the running. Okay, yeah. Oh, Jamie reached out to us today. She's really interested in the job. Oh, Jamie, Jamie's really nice about her communication. Let's give her a shot. If you just fall off the earth, then maybe another candidate slips above you, and then they hire them instead because that person was really communicative and reached out.
Okay.
So in that case, if it's been a couple days, shoot them an email. If you can find a number, maybe their email tag has a number on it. Give them a call. People are often afraid to like call companies and call recruiters and stuff like that. Their whole job, these recruiters, is to place people in jobs. So if a candidate for a job is calling them, you're making their job a little bit easier. So they're always expecting this sort of communication. So don't hesitate to reach out to them if you ever if you don't hear back from them. I say,
okay.
1 or 2 days, give them 2 days. If they give you a timeline, like, oh, we'll be back to you in a week, then whatever, check with them in a week. But if they don't really give you anything, give it a couple days, reach out to them, set yourself reminders because it's really, really important.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Of course. Dom.
Yeah, and I would add to that.
Oh, no, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Oh, I was just going to say, I would add to that. Sometimes you can come up with like different reasons to reach out. So maybe the first time you try and confirm, like, hey, I just want to make sure you got my test results. And then if you don't hear back for a couple days, maybe reach out again and be like, oh, I've never taken, hey, just wanted to reach out because I've never taken this assessment before. And I'm curious why you use it or like how it functions, and maybe could you link me to some resources about it? I don't know, but like maybe you could come up with, there's like a couple different reasons why you could reach out that are still showing interest, but kind of showing interest without necessarily being like, hey, hey, you're like, oh, I have this reason to reach out. Okay, I have a reason to reach out. I want to learn more about your company and why you use this assessment. And like, are you trying to get a good personality fit? And I think that's a really great way to run your company.
Yeah. I
I do
that.
also see.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're welcome. I do see
So
a
laggy
question
here.
from Dom's World. Yes, I apologize. Don't have a great connection right now, so I should probably just let Forrest you to answer questions.
You're fine, Kenzie. I wanted one more follow up on that last one too. Try multiple forms of communication. If email doesn't work, call them. If calling doesn't work, find them on LinkedIn, reach out to them. Don't do it all in one day, but over the course of whatever 8 days, whatever you decide to call them, reach out to them. Do one this day, do another this day, and another this day. That way you've hit all your. Because recently I've seen a graduate who was going like 6 weeks without hearing back from an interview. He had 4 interviews with the job, and then that just nothing all of a sudden. And he went 6 weeks without any sort of communication with them, and he was emailing him constantly. Got nothing back. He eventually decided to call them, and their whole email system was like down forever, and they had a huge like system crash, and they were still very much interested in him as a candidate, but they just weren't getting his emails. So he gave him a call. They answered. They were still excited about him, still wanted to interview him. So, don't assume that they're just ghosting your emails. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes they go to spam. We all lose emails. So try calling. Try LinkedIn. Try more direct, forms of communication. Dom asks, I'm still very new to the Tech Academy program. What's some personal advice you'd give to new students that'll help them get through the program at a great time? Great. So Dom, are you specifically talking like how to keep up a steady pace when going through the program? How to like keep up with finishing on time? Is that what you're referring to? Cool. One sec. I think setting goals for yourself is really important. I set daily and weekly goals every single week, work and personal related, because it helps to keep you on track. Small goals, not like get a job goals, but send out 10 resumes goal, small goals. So, as long as you're paying attention to the progress you're going through the course, and you're saying, okay, I'm going to get through 100 pages or whatever tomorrow, or at least 100 pages every day, and you set yourself to that sort of pace, you're going to be fine. Really, you want to be as disciplined with yourself now and throughout your entire job search. Discipline is pretty important. The more disciplined, the more professional you are about your school and your job search, the better the results are going to be. So if you treat your schooling like a job where you got to wake up at 9, got to work till this hour every single day, you're going to do great. And you're going to be more successful in the end because you're putting in that effort. If you're ever worried about being behind or anything like that, reach out. Sometimes it looks like you're behind and you're not, and we're always here to help you out. So reach out to us, reach out to an instructor. But just, set a target schedule for yourself and stick to it is the biggest advice I can have for you. Joseph.
Yeah, I also, adding to what Forrest said, with just pacing through the boot camp, I think in the beginning, focusing more on the boot camp than thinking about getting a job is important. But at some point, I kind of wished I had set my LinkedIn up and whatnot before I got to job placement. I have noticed other students on LinkedIn and stuff already kind of have their LinkedIn set up saying that they're in the process and, looking for jobs. And these are the things that they have already learned. And I think that can set you up so that you already are getting communication from recruiters and whatnot once you start the job placement process too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I want to, Joseph, I want to get to your question, but I want to follow up on that because that's an excellent point. We recently started setting up, phone calls with all of our newer students as they, within their first course, job placements, having a call with them to kind of get them up to that. We want everybody to be thinking about the job search while on the boot camp, but focusing on their studies. Obviously, that's what's important. But the ultimate goal is to find a job. So if you ignore it until you get to graduation, then you're coming fresh into an environment that you're not prepared for. So don't stress over it. But like Kenzie said, get your LinkedIn looking great. Get at least a professional photo up there, a little bio about yourself, your work history, and start connecting with people. You don't need to have a bunch of tech stuff on there. It could just be, here's what I'm getting into. Here's a little bit about me. And I'm really excited to, join the industry and just let people know who you are. Build connections up as much as you can. I will say this forever, but networking is the most important part of your job search, in my opinion, and in many recruiters' opinions. I've met many recruiters that will say, if you don't network, you're never going to find a job. It's not 100% true, but it will be one of the most important parts of your job search. And you can start it as early as now. Friends, family, other coworkers, peers, other graduates, reach out to everybody. You'd be surprised, like 9 out of 10 times I talk to a student or a graduate, I say, reach out to your friends and family. You probably know somebody already in the tech industry. They reach out to everybody, and it turns out like, oh, Uncle Jim has a cousin or whatever who's a technical recruiter or a software developer, and all of a sudden you've got a connection there that could be an avenue where you can get a job. Meetups, not just like these more tech talky meetups where one person's kind of talking at you, but a meetup where you can meet people and network in the same industry as you are incredibly vital. I've seen so many people land jobs through attending the same group meetups on a weekly or monthly basis, meeting people there. Hey, I'm Forrest. I'm going through the Tech Academy. I'm new at this, but I'm really passionate about it. I'm super excited about technology. I'm just here to learn. And you meet the same person every week, and they see that you're coming, and they see you're putting in the effort. They come up across the job posting. Oh, that guy, he's in our tech talks every day, every week, and he seems really into it. He's new. Let's give him a shot. Boom, gets a job. So network. I cannot stress that enough.
I was super intimidated by networking in these like more tech focused groups at first, because I felt like, oh, I don't have anything to bring to the table. They're not going to, they're not going to want to talk to me. But guess what? During a lot of these, if they don't have like a specific topic that they're covering, most people are not talking about tech anyways, especially with everyone kind of being in quarantine and not having a big social outlet. I found that I was able to, and granted, I am someone that likes to get on the internet and talk to strangers. It's something that I actually enjoy. But I found that we were not talking and discussing technical subjects most of the time. We were just talking about ourselves and our lives and how those might relate to the technical subject. But, if you just get on there and be yourself and make connections, it's a lot less intimidating once you're there. And most of it's virtual right now too. So if you're like, wow, this is really awkward, just get out of there.
Just get in there. Yeah, I mean, one last point on that. We got a lot of questions here I want to get to, but one last point on that is people that go to meetups are not the grumpy people that don't want to meet you. They're people that go to meetups are there to meet people. So if you go and you're like too intimidated to meet folks, like they're also there to meet people and to talk about stuff. So you're not going to run into like the total jerks at meetups. And I know I remember my first meetup I went to was about a database management software thing, and I was like kind of excited about it. I got in there. I didn't know a single thing that they were saying, and I bounced in like 5 minutes because I was terrified. I regret that, obviously, because everybody was super nice, and if I would have just opened up, they would have been completely willing to, let me just kind of listen and learn a little bit. So don't be intimidated. Just dive in is really the best advice I could have for you. Okay, we got some more questions. Paul, oh, sorry. Actually, I think I had Joseph up line next, and I kind of interrupted you, so go for it, Joseph.
Oh, no, you're all good. Yeah, I was listening. Great information. I was just going to ask, so I know that the Tech Academy has a vast majority. I don't know, vast is an exaggeration. Most people get a job within 3 months, but there also is that, I think it was around like 26%. You might have to remind me. I don't remember. But how would somebody avoid being in that minority that unfortunately doesn't land a job?
In 3 months or just in general?
In general, yeah, in general.
Great question. Yeah. So there's a lot of components to that. Communication is probably one of the most important. We're here, myself and the rest of the team we're here to help you. And I don't really care how long that takes. I want to see you land a job. I have a network of students I work with, and I call them on a regular basis. I keep up with them. I help motivate them. And just kind of remind them like, hey, you can still do this. And lots of people are doing it. I think the folks that end up in that 26% that don't land jobs, they more or less kind of gave up on it. I would say 100% of the people that really try get jobs. If you want a tech job, you will get a tech job. If you give up on it, if you say this is too hard, or I've had too many failed interviews, or I've sent out too many applications, and you give up, you're probably not going to get one. There's often a reason why they're not being successful. Say, you talk to somebody, I've sent out 600 applications and I've never gotten a single resume. Well, there's probably something you were doing on that was not up to what we emphasized. So let's go through it. Okay, let's figure out your resume. Okay, your resume looks okay. How about your interview skills? Oh, okay, I can see some gaps there. Let's go over that. Oh, are you networking? You're not networking? Okay, let's go over this. So as long as you're, taking our advice, I'm only here to help you. And the whole staff is really just, all we're here to do is see you succeed. As long as you continue working with us, you're going to land a job. That's basically guaranteed. It's not, 100% guaranteed, but it's, as long as you stick with us and you work on it, you will land a job. It may take a week, it may take 6 months, it may take anywhere in between. But it happens on a regular basis.
Awesome.
I mean, just this week alone. Yeah, just this week alone, I think we've gotten 8 graduates that have landed jobs in the industry, 2 of which have been on it for quite a long time, and they kind of fell off, but then they came back. We worked with them. We figured out what was the problem. We debugged their situation, and then a couple months later, they landed an awesome job. And they're, they gave up at one point, and they came back, and they got these awesome jobs now. So you just got to stick with it. It happens. So yeah, don't lose hope. Frank, I think I saw your hand go up next. I want to go Frank, and then we'll go back to the message board, and then we'll come back to the hands.
Okay. Hey, I just wanted to mention a couple things. When I was going through the program, one thing that worked for me is, using GitHub. Make sure you put things up there, but think about how you start to think about how you want to present yourself. And when you go into the live projects, I wished it kind of tells you to start writing out readmes and stuff like that. But really try to formulate describing what you're doing in the live projects to people. And don't let it sneak up at you in the end. You work really hard on your coding, but I just learned that I kind of let that sneak up on me. Then I'm sitting there going back to my live projects and trying to figure out how to bullet point them. Anyway, that's just a tip. You can do it, and just don't give up. Just don't give up. It's kind of the imposter syndrome, things like that. But keep working on it and try to put yourself out there. That helps.
That's great advice, Frank. I really appreciate that input. And you're absolutely right. I have a graduate who's landed a job who vows that if you want to be noticed, proper documentation is vital. Like, every company needs somebody who's great at documenting. So if you have excellent readmes, if your code is easy to read, you got comments, everything looks great. That makes you, if your code is unorganized in terms of like your documentation, if it's hard to parse what's going on, it's a little bit more like iffy. But if you're like excellent readmes, you know exactly what that code's going to do, then you're a pretty attractive candidate to folks, and that can really carry you through it. And like he said, going through your live project, take notes as much as you can. Don't let that sneak up on you. Your live project is going to be one of the biggest components of your job search. It's going to really highlight the culmination of your time here at the Tech Academy. So take proper documentation, take code snippets, take notes on what you're doing, write good comments in your code. At the end of your live project, you write a project summary that kind of summarizes everything. And if you don't think about it prior, it can be kind of it'll sneak up on you. So that's great advice. Paul in the comment section says, post-COVID, are there any in-person meetup events currently going on in Portland? Paul, I'm sure there are. I think there's a happy hour event with a group that I used to go to called PADNUG, P-A-D-N-U-G. It's like Portland area.net group or something like that. I think they do like a happy hour at like a Thirsty Lion somewhere, but it's a really small group. Mostly they're online. If you go to Meetup and you search tech groups, whatever, you'll see a little online symbol above the title of the event. I'd say 99% of them are still online, which, while has a different sort of value to it than being in person. Obviously, in person you can shake hands, or well, not shake hands, but you can whatever. Online's nice because you can, you meet a person there, then you go right away in another tab, you find them on LinkedIn, and you add them as a friend, and you say, hey, that thing you said in the meetup, that was awesome. I really appreciate it. I'd love to talk to you more about it. And you have that direct line of communication with them right then and there. You don't have to wait till you get home and then reach out to them and forget about it. You're just boom right there. So I'd say it's a little bit more powerful to do it virtually, honestly. Although there's only one person talking at a time, it's still pretty handy. What about Drew? You had your hand up.
Yeah. And just to respond to Paul there, I was actually browsing Meetup yesterday, and I saw one at Rialto, the pool hall. It was like a tech and pool meetup. And I guess it was the first one since last year. And they did it yesterday. I think it was at like 5 o'clock. I obviously didn't make it, but I guess they're trying to start that back up. So that sounds like at least a pretty laid back scene that if you're into pool and tech, might be fun. I'll probably check that out in the future.
Yeah.
So there's that. And as for my question, so I recently just graduated, and I've gotten a few hits on my LinkedIn from recruiters, from like Pathrise or Career Karma, and I believe another one that just hit me up today. And I've been a little reluctant to utilize those. Just because, they take a little bit of your money, right? So it's like, I'm a little reluctant, but I think I'm starting to get to a point where I might have to embrace that a little bit more than I have been, just to get exposure, and get more kind of connections. So I guess my question is, and this could be, for anybody in here who's recently graduated, if they have been hit up by any of these or other recruiters, and just general advice in that area, because I have been rather reluctant to push forward with that.
Yeah, I want to have a little bit of input before, if anybody else wants to pitch in. That's awesome. Recruiters so there's lots of different kinds of companies. There are some companies, like I think Pathrise is one of them, where it's like, we get you a job and then you end up paying us in the end. That totally exists. There's also companies where, like Smooth Stack, where you basically interview to be part of their pool of candidates. And once you're in there, they'll train you and they'll pay you kind of minimum wage. And then once you're in the industry, you're contracted for a couple of years with the company. Those kind of companies exist, and they're not as evil as they may sound. They help. I had a student just the other day get a job through a company where you're contracted for a couple of years through them, but he's got 2 years of guaranteed work now as a software developer, and they help train him. He just has to stay with the company for 2 years. So that's
what was that? What was that one called for us?
That's called Revature. Revature.
Okay. I've seen Revature.
That's probably one of the most common that you'll get reached out to. They're one of the biggest. Here's my advice on that. Go on like Glassdoor, and people can review everything on, review these companies. You can see past candidates that have gone through and see what they say about it. You're going to get pretty wildly varying stuff, like, this was great, got my foot in the door, or this sucked, they want to relocate me, whatever. Just do your research. As for recruiters, 90% of the time, recruiters don't take anything from you. They get paid by the company that you get hired at. Or that's how they make money, is off commission based on placement. So they're not going to take that out of your salary. Like 90% of the time, that's what I've heard. It doesn't come out of your salary. It doesn't end up coming out of your pocket in any way. It comes out of the company that hired that recruitment firm to find them employees. So if recruiters are reaching out to you, 100% take advantage of that. They're like, I've had like 3 people this week get jobs just through recruiters reaching out to them, and they don't owe them a thing. If it gets to the point where they're like, okay, we want to bring you on, we're going to charge you whatever a week, or we're going to charge you, we're going to do whatever, then you can reconsider it. I don't think you should have to pay anything to get a job in the industry. There's way more opportunities out there than needing to pay for stuff. But recruiters are great. They're there to help you out. Reach out to them. Let them reach out to you. Utilize them to the best of your ability.
And have you guys heard of Neurologic? You guys working with them at all?
Real familiar.
Okay.
Is it a recruitment firm?
Yes. Let's see. Staffing, headhunting, and payroll. That's what Neurologic Incorporated does.
Yeah. Here's what I say: investigate every opportunity.
Okay.
Don't pass anything up. Like nothing. Like investigate this, investigate your Uncle Jim who might know somebody who wants a web developer. Like go for every opportunity you could possibly find, because if you miss out on something because you just didn't put the time in to investigate it, then that's a missed opportunity. So utilize everything.
Thank you.
Got a couple more questions in the box here. I'm not good with that. I'm struggling. So what's oh, Frank. Okay, sorry. I need to go back here a little bit. Frank, would you mind sharing your GitHub link, readmes, etc.? Frank, do you feel comfortable in your GitHub to share it, or is it something you would share down the road? I don't want to make you force you. I can.
No, it's my weak point. I don't mind. It's kind of weird how you get kind of like overthink what you're doing, and then you don't want to share it. Then all of a sudden you think, well, someday I'm going to look at it and go, that was dumb. But I do have trouble with that. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like when I went through the live projects and then I started to read me, it threw me off. It just threw me off. Like here I'm explaining my code and how I fit into the big picture. And so yeah, it's a weak point on me. So
yeah, and Brianna, I'd be more than happy to send you some successful GitHub accounts that have good readmes in them. You can also, simply Googling what does a good readme look like would help. But if you want to see like a Tech Academy student who has a good readme account, I would be more than happy to get their permission to send it to you. I mean, GitHubs are public; everybody can see everybody's. So, but I would be, happy to share that with you. And Frank, I'm sure yours looks better than you probably think it does. But we all have those moments where we look back and think, "Wow, that looks bad," and you will probably continue to have that throughout your whole career, because that's just a developer. We're always getting better at something and looking back and can't believe I, wrote that spaghetti code or whatever. Anyway, on to the next one. Katarina. What certifications would help me get noticed? For instance, would this one be valuable? It's a Python one. I'm not familiar with this one, but extra certifications can definitely be a good way to get you noticed. It is not a must. You don't have to, keep paying for more stuff in order to get you noticed. But here's what helpful about those. It builds up your resume. It gives you something extra to put on there. It might fill in some gaps. I think if you can get a certification in some really low level cloud-based technologies, AWS, and I think Karen, we've talked about this before, but AWS has a what they call a cloud practitioner certification. Can't remember what it is, but it's basically the base level certification in AWS. It's the first thing you get when you're learning AWS. The class takes like a week to do. It's like $100 for the certification, for the test. But I have seen it land other people's jobs before, because they get it, they put it on their website. A lot of companies are looking for cloud-based knowledge. So having something like that would really help fill in those gaps. I'd say if you're already, if you're focusing on Python, this looks like a Python certification. If that's what you want to focus on, then for sure, go for it. Go deep into Python. Maybe, think about the costs and the outcomes. Think if it's worth it to you. You can also, just take, cheaper Udemy courses. You get little certifications when you finish these Udemy courses, but it's something that you can show off. You can put it on your resume. Courses completed. You can add it there. You could post it on LinkedIn. Here's a course I completed. You can have it on your GitHub. You can have it on. It advertises you more and it helps to fill in those gaps. So while certifications are not a must, they are just one more extra step that can push you forward. So that one looks good. I'm not really familiar with it, the CAP, but I'd be willing to look into it for you, see if it looks like a good one. Look up reviews on this kind of stuff too. Use the internet. Is this worth the taking? But I would say cloud. Go for cloud stuff. Yes.
Yeah. Forrest, I did see a question in the chat. Sorry, I just got booted from the Meet, so my chat refreshed. But I did see a question from Michelle that I think we might have missed, and I just wanted to make sure it got covered.
Yes, thank you. Sorry,
It was something on like job boards.
yeah, Mitchell.
And oh, sorry, Mitchell, not Michelle. I can't see it anymore. I'm sorry.
Yes, let's go over that. So yeah, anyway, certifications could be worth the investment. Just you gotta kind of weigh the cost against it. Some of them are cheap, some of them are you gotta pay, a pretty penny for. So Mitchell asks, are there any sites or resources you recommend for finding jobs besides the usual LinkedIn, Indeed, and Craigslist? I'm glad you brought up Craigslist. Craigslist is a great one because it's a much more direct line to the company because typically it's a smaller company kind of posting it. There's really like thousands of job boards out there. Well, there's job boards and then there's job search sites, and they're two different things, and they get kind of confused. Indeed is a job search site, and Indeed pulls from other job boards. Job boards are a little bit more, you're posting your application there, and it's directly going to the company typically. Job board sites pull postings from like hundreds of boards and kind of culminate. It's like a Google search for jobs, and it pulls it from all these different places. So in that case, on an Indeed and LinkedIn and stuff like that, you're typically going through a couple avenues before your application gets in front of somebody, before your resume, I should say, gets in front of somebody. So the most direct method you can take to get a resume on someone's desk, the better. If you find a job on Indeed you want to apply for, go to the company's website first and see if you can apply directly on their website. If there's a way to apply directly on their website, that is the most effective way because it is going directly to them. See if there's somebody you can reach out to. Hey, I really want to apply for this job. I just want to verify that my resume is going to make it through. I know things can be a little iffy with Indeed. Just really think it's an awesome fit, and I love the company. So just wanted to have an extra avenue there. And that person might say, oh, here's an email address. Send your resume directly to this person. So while Indeed and Dice and jobs.com and Monster, and you could just Google, job search sites. There's millions of them out there. They're all effective. What's more effective is following up and ensuring that your resume gets to somebody. That's what the follow-up is so important about. Because what happens, so for instance, like LinkedIn.com. So LinkedIn has a quick apply button. A lot of these, and ZipRecruiter has a quick apply button. What happens then is that you have your resume posted there, you quick apply, and you move on. You forget about it. What's really happening is that they are parsing through your resume, they're reading it, they're pulling up certain keywords out of it, and they're making a text file out of it, a very simple text file. And then that text file gets sent over this and then whatever and goes to the company. Your resume, as you have it on there, almost never makes it to the company, which is kind of crazy. They get like a pool of candidates based off of very stringent sort of recommendation. If you don't fit enough of the job posting requirements, you're never going to get to it. So quick applies in my experience and what I've heard from recruiters is that they are little to not effective at all. So utilize them, but the more effort you put into an application, typically the better chance you have of getting somewhere. So kind of weigh that, as you're going through these application processes. Same thing with that. If you see a quick apply, call the company, find them on LinkedIn, do something to ensure that your resume gets to them. That's really the important thing.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend first, like looking at that company's specific website and job postings to see if you can apply directly to the company. If you're looking for a remote job, there's a really great group. They basically send it out as a newsletter, but they're called Remotists, Remote ISTS, and they will pull different areas of technology. So it's all remote jobs, primarily technology jobs. And if you're interested in data science, they will give you only data science jobs, or if you're a different type of development, only those jobs, and they'll send you out like a weekly newsletter with the jobs, and they're finding jobs from all over the world. So they have quite a large database on that site. I would also recommend looking at whatever area you're in. If you're interested in working for the government, there's governmental job portals where you can typically have all of your information already there and then apply to lots of different jobs. And if you're in Oregon, Technology Association of Oregon just released a job board, and they're adding functionality for uploading resumes to that. But for now, it's just companies posting on that. So that's another great new option. And yeah, just a couple things to add of potential.
Oh, Lost Kenzie there. But
lost Kenzie.
Lost Kenzie, but she had some really good advice there. Yeah, there are a lot of really smaller, much smaller. There's a lot of like local to your city and local to your area job boards. Like in Portland, there's portlandtech.com, there's Portland Tech Association, there's Made in Portland. There's a whole bunch of like localized. So, take your city name or the nearest larger city to you, say you live outside of Salt Lake City, use Salt Lake City, Salt Lake City tech jobs. And I guarantee you'll find specific job boards for those companies or those cities, which can help narrow it down. Lost you there for a minute, Kenzie, but I think that was great advice. I kind of rounded it out at the end. Hopefully I covered everything.
Thank you.
Cool. Let's okay, so let's go down. We got a lot of questions here. Brianna asks, oh no, we got that one. Okay. Sorry, I'm getting lost here. Jennifer Smith, I missed the whole first part of the program. Can you please email me the recording to watch the whole event? Yeah, so Jennifer, it's actually going to be on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. Rick typically gets them up within a day or so. And if you just go to YouTube, type in the Tech Academy, go to our page, all of our tech talks there, usually within a couple hours. So that would be the most efficient way to grab that.
Yeah, will be posted this evening.
Awesome. Tom asks, I know there's a job placement portion of the course overall, but are we allowed to schedule one-on-one mentors at any time during the course? Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so here's the thing, if you're going through the program and you are eager to just jump on your job search, or you want some advice, some one-on-one advice, or maybe you've got an interview that you're terrified for that you want to prepare for, reach out to us. You have our contact info in the LMS. I had a student the other day who was on, I think it's in database and SQL course, who just landed a data analytics job because he started reaching out to me early and said, hey, I got this interview, I'm terrified, let's do a mock interview. We did a mock interview for it. He aced the interview, he got the job, well before he graduated. That being said, obviously focus on your studies, but if you want assistance now, I'd be happy to help you out. So Dom, if something you're interested in, we can set up a call. I'd be happy to. Just give us an email and we can set something up. Michael Watkins, I have to head out early. Thank you, Michael. Katerina, I'm struggling for that. There's a lot of comments here. May I show my GitHub too? Adam Finkel asked if you show his GitHub too. Adam, yeah, if you'd like to share your GitHub, anybody wants to share their LinkedIn or their GitHub or any sort of contact info, throw it in the chat. Keep an eye out there. Connect with each other. This is a good time to, oh, it looks like he already posted it. Great. Sorry, I'm not keeping up with these chats here. I've seen that some have got started with freelance sites, starting their simple gigs. What is your opinion on this type of approach? Freelance can be a great way to get your foot in the door. Often that might start with, what I've seen in the past is somebody does some free freelance work. So they do some volunteer work for a friend or a company. Hey, I noticed you don't have a website. I'd love to build one for you. I'm gonna do it for free. And I'll do it in a week, whatever. They build them something, that person refers them to something else, then they start getting paid, and from there they can kind of spark their freelance career. There's sites like Fiverr and Upwork. If you just type like freelance work, you'll find all these sites. They are a really good way to build your experience, especially as an entry-level developer. If you're looking to boost up your resume, take on some freelance work. Research open source projects and get yourself involved with open source projects. Really what I mean, like, get experience anywhere you can. If you can do an internship or a mentorship or an apprenticeship or volunteer or whatever, like, that's great. Don't worry so much about getting paid right away, which is obviously what we want. But if this is a stepping stone and getting paid, if doing a little bit of free work is a stepping stone into getting a great job, then it is 100% worth it. Otherwise, you could have spent that whole time on the job search not getting experience. So freelance is definitely worth putting time into. I'm actually working on adding a freelance portion to our job placement course, so there'll be a little bit more details on that soon. All job postings are just resume black hole. Networking is better. I would agree. Networking is really the best way to get a job. Thank you for that input, Adam. Really, if you're not networking, it's gonna take a little bit longer. So put the time in the network. There's a lot of notes here lots of communication. I love it. Angel.co. Yep, that's a great site for startup job postings. Coral first, Mitchell, Jennifer. Watch this program? I missed all that first part. Is it possible for me to get a link? Covered that already. Sorry, there's a lot of notes here. This is great. Okay, and then at the end, David Meyer. I'm new to the Tech Academy. I'm not sure what to look for once I start for my job search in the future. What are some ways to assess if a particular job would be a good opportunity to pursue? Great question. I think this is probably gonna be our last question because we're coming up at the end here, but this is a really good, important one. A lot of folks are intimidated by job postings. Should I apply to this? Should I not? Do I fit the qualifications? Is this too advanced for me? Is this something I would enjoy? In my opinion, investigate every opportunity. I said that before, but like, you don't know until you try it. Here's something that we see happen. A company posts their senior level positions and not their junior level positions, and they don't post their junior level roles. So I've seen people apply for senior level roles, obviously not get the job, but land a junior level role that the company hadn't even posted, because that's how they kind of vet candidates for that position. There's something like 80% of jobs are never posted on any sort of job board, which is insanity. That means there's like tens of thousands of jobs out there that are just not being posted about. So how do you find those jobs? You network, you reach out, you apply to positions, and there's like a side position that they didn't post. To assess the kind of job that you're really interested in, you might not know that until you're already in the industry. Your first goal is to get your foot in the door, get that little bit of experience. Maybe SQL is not your favorite language, but you land a SQL position and it helps you gain some experience. And maybe you fall in love with SQL, maybe you don't. Either way, your resume looks a lot better. You've got more experience. You've got the coding under your belt. You can be pickier after that. You'll have a better idea of what you want to do after you've finished the boot camp, after you've did some work in the environment. Maybe you really want to focus on front end. Maybe you hate design and you just want to focus on back end, or maybe just database architecture. Maybe coding's not for you and you want to focus on data analytics or data science. I mean, there's really kind of an endless supply of opportunities out there. It's pretty broad. So I would say, don't focus on too much on about the exact job you want to look for. Cast a wide net, look at everything, and kind of assess what looks interesting to you. That's kind of all the time we have today. It looks like, there's probably some more questions, but I really appreciate everybody coming. We're going to do more of these. Maybe once a month or so, we'll do more of these meetings. Like I said, job placement's an open door. You have any questions, we want to help you out. Just because you're not in job placement yet doesn't mean we don't want to talk to you. So reach out if you have any questions. You have the job placement email on the course. And that's everything I have to say. I want to thank everybody for coming. Thank you, Rick and Kenzie, for joining and hosting. And I hope everyone has a safe weekend. You will land a job as long as you try it. As long as you put in the effort, you will 100% land that job. So just keep pushing.
Yeah, Forrest, I think we should have you on. Yeah, it's really good, Forrest.
Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. I think we should have you on every week, Forrest.
I would be exhausted by that, but I'll do it.
Really good information.
Appreciate it.
Forrest, you the man.
Thanks, Joseph. Happy to work with you guys. Also, one last thing. I host a weekly roundtable Wednesdays. If you're interested in coming to it, we do technical interview questions and coding challenges every Wednesday at 1 o'clock. Email job placement if you're interested, and we'll set you up with the email address so we can get you coming. I know we got a couple people here that already come, but they're a lot of fun, and I'm looking for more folks. So anyway, that's all for me. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate you coming today.
Thank
you
you
guys.
so much, Forrest. Awesome.
Thanks, Forrest.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being
Thanks, Forrest.
here.
Thank you, Forrest.
Thank you, guys. All this advice is useless without attendees.
Well, thanks, Steve. I'm glad you enjoyed your first tech talk. Hope to see you at the next one.
Bye, Steve.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Tom, for coming. Thanks for the question.
See you guys next